Hello, it is Tuesday the 22nd of October and I'm going to look at crypto, starting with Bitcoin. The world outside of crypto is a pretty uncertain place as of today. The US elections are 2 weeks from today. Also today the new BRICS conference starts, all of those member countries, and the pretty awfulness that is going on in the world continues in the Middle East, and I've kind of run out of words for it, so I think I'll leave it at that. But unless you're blind, you can see what's going on, and it doesn't kind of put you in a good frame of mind about anything, really. So, and I feel like that's weighing on the markets. Let's take a look at where we are in Bitcoin. So last week when we were looking at it on a big picture scale, we were looking at potentially the top of this consolidation that we have really been in since March, being a little bit of a resistance potentially for a pullback, but potentially, we have not broken out unless we kind of hold above that 69,000 level. And so the devil in the detail now will be how much do we pull back and how far, or is this still kind of back to the bottom of the range from here? This last swing was a 7886 fib retrace. So if we measure from the highs to the lows, this was a 78.6 fib retrace. We've double topped at this level. Sometimes, when you're in these consolidation patterns, you repeat that. So potentially we could see a 78.6 fib retrace from where we are, which would put us, worst case scenario, all the way back to the bottom of this parallel channel, and potentially all the way back to 53,000. I don't think that this is going to happen, because if we look at the moving averages, we have got really, really good support before then. And these daily moving averages really work well as support. And so potentially a pullback to them, a pullback to sort of 64,000 could be really interesting support. We've had a proper fight over this daily 200 moving average. They've all flattened out, which means there is no trend. It is still a sideways range for sure. But I'm looking for them to be support when we pull back to them. At the moment, we've got, if we look at fib support, if we measure the most recent swing, which would be the low last Thursday on the 10th, we are sitting on the 236 fib of this swing, which is also the previous swing low, and it's 67,000. So if we hold this and have a bullish reversal here, we're still sideways at an important resistance level, but there is no reversal to this uptrend. If you think in simple terms, a trend is when you make higher lows and higher highs in an uptrend. So, we can say this is an uptrend. And when you pull back, as long as you hold this low and turn higher again, there is no change to your uptrend. So we're right at that kind of short-term trend support in Bitcoin. And we are therefore, I think, quite likely to see a bounce here. The problem is going to be if we make a lower high and then continue lower, where are we going to go to? If we do that, then I always look at the fibs from the most recent swing that we're in. But so this would be from this low to this high, which means 66,999 on this index chart, which basically 67,000, a daily close underneath 67,000. I'm going to look for the bigger 236 fib retrace, which comes all the way from the beginning of August low, which is 64,700. And was also the swing high when we first did this, and this would be sort of back to that daily 20 moving average as well. So we're sitting on pretty good bounce support for here. Now, is this a good kind of swing position for a new long? I think if you've already got a long, this is a really good place to watch and see if this holds, because if it continues lower, you've got to then make a decision about what you do with this bigger pullback. But this would be there for the next place that I would be looking. Sometimes with these swings, so if we look at this most recent swing here, we did a very nice 50% retrace of this swing. It's possible that we just do another pretty nice 50% retrace of this swing if we continue lower, which puts us in the lower end of 64,000 but that would also just be a pullback in an uptrend rather than trend continuation if we hold the lows where we're at. So I have to say that this would be the second place, 64,197. I would look for it to pull back to and potentially find support. But because of this 200 moving average a little bit lower, it may be that we'll end up somewhere in this zone, somewhere between 63,000 and 64,000 is kind of next support, if you like. But for now, potentially, as we head into the open, I think that we're on a pretty good bounce level. Let's take a look at where we are with ETH, and if we can hold that bounce level and keep turning higher, then nothing to worry about, right? Pretty similar thing with ETH. I kind of like the look of this because we've got 5 waves up. This is ETH against the dollar. We are underneath that 236 fib retrace, but this lines up with a 38.2, which is a very common retrace, 2,593. That's the next support that I would be looking for, and then below that 2,539. Corrections are almost never one drop like this. So here in ETH, it's quite obvious there's not 3 waves. You know, even if you go sideways or you make it simple like this, corrections are almost always 3 waves. And this doesn't look like 3 waves complete here, which suggests to me that even if we bounce, you know, we're likely to do another leg lower, and it may, you know, something like that before we bottom in ETH. So I'm personally not in a rush to buy any more of it right here. So I am expecting a bounce just because of the level that we're at, but not necessarily a good swing entry. If we look at Solana, we are sideways in Solana. I actually think Solana has room to go higher based on measured moves, as I said before. I think there's room in this one to go to 173.89. If we look at where we are, you know, there's no reversal of trend here. We're holding and riding that 20 moving average higher. Does it look like we've made a 3-wave correction here? No, it doesn't. It does mean that we could very easily make a 3-wave correction before we turn higher, but I still have that 173.89 as a target in Solana, and we may have completed, we may just keep going higher here into this level, and then we'll see what happens here in Solana. So pretty much as we head into the open today, I think we're on pretty good bounce levels. It's going to be all about how high and whether we keep going or not in them. If we take a look at some of the meme coins and some of the other ones that I've been looking at, I took profit and got out of Sui today, and we'll talk about why. So here in Sui, if I measure this first swing higher, we reversed it at kind of textbook perfect equal measured move level. Even if I measure it from this low to this high, it was an equal measured move level. And that kind of sets this up as a 3 drives pattern here. So I was watching, this is a weekly chart, to see if this turns into a bigger reversal. And we are another leg lower here at an equal measured move level. We're underneath the daily 20 moving average, which I was looking for it to hold. We've been above that since the end of September. So I'm out of Sui, waiting to see how far we pull back. Now, normally when you draw a measured move like this, you would pull back and backtest that 61.8 level, which is at 158 in Sui. So I'm going to put a price, I have a price alarm here, it's not shown here, to warn me when it comes back there, to see if I want to have a look at buying it. And even if I measure that 61.8 from this first swing here, like this, it's a little bit higher. Maybe I put it a little bit higher. Well, between 163, I think, and kind of 155 is where we kind of need to see this find support if it's going to keep going higher in Sui. Otherwise, whenever you see a big ABC correction like this, unfortunately, it can retrace quite a long way, and I would not ride it all the way back. So Aave, which is another one I have a position, is making a very similar pattern here from the lows. This is an equal measured move level, and we've reversed it. We've seen one swing lower, and it looks like we're rolling over. Here's our first swing lower, 3 waves up. It looks like we're seeing another pullback. If we then pull back to this 136 level, it's kind of going to look a bit like a head and shoulders pattern, isn't it? But it's pretty key support. I think if you have a bag of this, I would lighten it a little if we get underneath 136 and wait for a bigger pullback in this one, because it will have completed a big three-wave correction, equal measure move. It's not normally bullish. Now, if we hold this support level, where are we likely to go? At the moment, we're having a fight over this weekly moving average. But because if we hold this support level and turn higher from here, from 136, I think 192 is a really good first target, because that's the big 236 fib retrace from the high that we made in 2021. So that's where I would be looking for next. Very interesting support and resistance as well next in SUI. So looking for 136 to be support, to maybe buy this one back in ARVE. I know I keep saying this, but BitSensor has been my favorite trade for a while based on fib patterns. We had this really nice bounce. So if we count from the 5th of August low, we've had a very nice extended third wave, hopefully. And when you reverse at a 786 fib, which we have here on the weekly, you will see a bigger reversal if you close underneath this 61.8 level, which is 542. So for me, this is key support. I'm out of my remaining BitSensor if we close underneath 542, because if you do that, your first target is back to the 38.2 fib. 786, you normally go to the 38.2. You can expect a bounce in the middle here at this 50% level, but this would normally be your first target, which is 397. So 542 as we head into the open today is pretty key support for Tau. And on this 4 hour, you can see we're a little bit sideways at it. I'm not sure what we're going to do here. Yeah, you know, I can't say for sure we're going higher again unless we take these highs out. So here, so, you know, quite often if we're going to make a bottom here, we do something like this and then have a bit of a pullback, and then we can say, yeah, okay, we're on our way up again. So pretty key support. But again, I'm going to sell the rest of my BitSensor if we close and hold underneath 540. And by that, I mean we get underneath and it becomes resistance, and then I would only buy it back again if we got above it and held it. So I'm watching this level pretty closely in Tau. So it's been very exciting this week in Goatsius Maximus. Lots of fights online. Is it AI or isn't it AI? It's been a pretty big mover. If we go to the daily in this one, we did a very nice bounce initially from this 50%. Then we went down to this 61.8. Normally, when you do this, you would, you know, within this, between the 61.8 and the 38.2 is like the golden ratio zone. Sometimes you want to, you'll go back and forward within it, and you'll look for this 50% level in the middle to be in a pivot. But if you break out of it, you expect them to be support. That's exactly what we saw here. I am not bearish this one at all. I think that this potentially keeps going, but we could at this point see a bigger 1, 2, 3 wave correction. If you're holding a bag of this, I would only look for a really nasty pullback if it drops back underneath 346. There is a little bit of a risk here that we come back and do this in a kind of bigger ABC correction, and we might have a little peak underneath, but I still think it should be a 3-wave correction. If we can hold above 0.42 though, we're not coming back. We're broken out and we're going to trend higher. So I'm not sure how we're going to go here today, but I have to say I don't think this is a short. I think that this is a little bit of a sideways before this one continues higher based on the price action. So pretty interesting in that one. There's a couple more. Cat got listed. Simon's Cat got listed yesterday on Binance. When we looked at it, we were looking, let's put regular candles on, we were looking for a pullback entry based on fibs. Normally, if you break above the daily 50 moving average, which we did here, you don't normally, if you're going to keep going higher, go back underneath it. It becomes pretty good support and resistance. So the first level of support here is at 31,000 sat. Now if we go down, we are slowing down a little bit, and we can in this count 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means that we really shouldn't drop underneath these lows. But if we were to do a 3-wave correction here after this, something like this, these lows are where we would be looking to get long and potentially a deeper pullback. But this is where we would be wrong back, and you would be not wanting to hold this if we dropped back underneath at this daily 50, because this would mean that this would be a bigger kind of 1, 2, 3. And so this is going to be your trigger. So that's kind of what's going on. So Simon's Cat buy pullbacks, and it's not quite set up for me to buy yet here. Again, I would like to see one more swing lower, and that's either going to bounce from here around kind of 34,000, or it may come back down to 30,000, but that's one I'm watching if we're going to keep trending higher in Simon's Cat. Another one that's holding up really nicely despite the shakeouts is Klaus, rat teeth. There's an ETH one. This would normally be called, if we look at it on the daily, bit of a bullish pennant. So we've had a really big move. Now if you're in this one, remember, 3 big rally, 3-wave correction, first swing, maybe this is, maybe we've done our 3-wave correction here and this is wave 1. It looks like 5 waves up, and so we just need to see a 3-wave correction here before we turn again. So I'm watching this one to see when this turns next in a 4-hour buy. Goes from red to green down here, or a little bit of a pullback. If I look at this most recent swing, where are we playing? We are, no, as usual, no surprise, we are stuck in that 61.8, 38.2 golden ratio zone where the bulls and the bears usually fight it out. So we can say that breaking higher from this box, breaking above 1,714, likely means we're on our way higher again. And if we break down, we're going to see a bigger pullback. Doesn't mean the party's over. The next support I would be looking for is 1167 in Klaus. But so far, when you make this lovely big move higher and then you just trade sideways in this range, I think this is setting up pretty nicely as well. So good luck. Let me know if there's anything you'd